Welcome, race fans, to Thunder Valley, Tennessee, where NASCAR Sprint Cup Series practice is underway. The 99 car of Carl Edwards will certainly be watched. He is under probation from NASCAR for a run-in with driver Brad Keselowski the last time we raced. We've had a weekend off to simmer over that story and let everything get heated up before we come to the world's fastest half mile. Hello, everybody. I'm John Roberts. Thanks for being with us as Speed kicks off yet another weekend of coverage of NASCAR. Let's take a look at the menu, see what's coming up from Bristol, and it is a full day of on-track activity. Nationwide Series practice at 1:30 Eastern Time. Sprint Cup qualifying, nationwide final practice. This menu is brought to you by ZigTech from Reebok. And NASCAR Live comes your way at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Trackside will feature a driver that from the past and from the future that remind us of one another. Kyle Busch and David Pearson will be on trackside today, so you won't want to miss that. Keep it right here on Speed. We got you covered all day long. Let's send you top side of the world's fastest half mile to Mike Joy.
Thanks, JR. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Thunder Valley. If you're going to have controversy and going to have a week off, what better place to resume the chase than right here? A track of legend, a track where rivalry is it's just a buzzword. Beautiful day here, almost 60 degrees, bright sunshine, and just a little bit of a breeze. And here we go. Welcome back to the circus that never ends. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip with you, and boy, it's been fun to have a week off and look at all of the non-traditional racing media that has picked up on the. Why am I doing that? Because that's what happened the last time we were at the racetrack and all that.
Bumping and grinding, that's what you do here. You know, they've sort of let it simmer a little bit for the last few days, but it's really been like a volcano. It was building up, and it exploded at Atlanta, and now the lava is running down. Let's see who gets the lava on them.
And Larry, here we come to a place which is known for everything from casual contact to out-and-out race car carnage.
Yeah, I mean, I know I wear this out, but it's something I had to preach to myself for 18 years of coming into this half-mile racetrack as a crew chief. Before you ever come through the gate, you better take your feelings, your emotions, and everything about those and leave them out there, because if you bring them in here, you're probably going to get them hurt. But to me, there's so many storylines about this weekend, Mike. When you think about 3 years ago in 2007, this is where this car was introduced with the wing. This will be the last race for the wing, because when we get to our next short track next week at Martinsville, we'll be back to that conventional rear spoiler.
And we'll talk about that as the day goes on, and keep up on Kyle Busch, who won that race and proclaimed it the worst car he'd ever driven.
That's not exactly what he said, but
yeah, it was worse
close
than that.
enough.
It was a four-letter word.
Let's pick up where we left off 2 weeks ago and go down to Chris Devoda.
Well, Carl Edwards already turned a lap, and things already looking good. He is P1, but it's been a tumultuous couple of weeks. Everyone's talking about that incident with he and Brad Keselowski. Carl, one of the first ones to get in his car. He jumped in 10 minutes before this practice started. Let's go ahead and talk to Carl real quick. A quick lap, but I know what everyone wants to know is what the last 2 weeks have been like. Are you just ready to put all that behind you?
Yeah, last 2 weeks have been fine, and I appreciate all my fans' support and everything. But yeah, we're here racing. We're in Bristol. Seems like we got a pretty fast Scott's Sport Fusion. Scott's is on the, sponsoring the weekend here, and it'd mean a lot to have a good run. But yeah, last week, I mean, somebody told me you'll have that in big-time auto racing. I mean, anything can happen. So just excited to be here, and seems like the car's pretty good.
Carl Edwards trying to keep his nose clean here at Bristol. He'll meet with NASCAR, by the way, Matt Yoakum, tomorrow at 9:15.
And Chris Devoda, when you pull all the drivers up and down pit road, they'll always say when you leave Bristol, the driver you most respect is Mark Martin. For Martin, he returns to the scene of the crime. Last year, he dominated on pole day, sweeping the top spot in both races. They brought back a different car, but the same setup. The agenda for crew chief Alan Gustafson is simple. Goodyear brought a different tire here as the 18 car spins on the racetrack. They brought back a different tire. They're looking to see just how different or how close they are with their dominating setup to what this new tire demands.
Thanks, Matt. Now, Kyle Busch had a moment in that same corner his first lap of practice.
He did. The car wiggled really badly with him earlier, a couple of laps before. He finally lost it right here. Just gets loose right here. That's a corner exit. And you can see the dirt. The track's a little dusty. That's a lot of rubber dust and stuff. It's built up in a very short period of time. One of the things that Goodyear has said about this tire, they think, is that it's going to allow the track to rubber up a little quicker because the rubber's a little softer. Rubbered up quite a bit right there.
But Darrell, I hope it rubbers it up, because I'm telling you, this concrete is white. There is no black rubber look to it whatsoever, and there's no grip when you don't have that rubber on it.
Well, you know what I didn't like about what I just saw? No smoke.
That's right. This is true.
And
usually when a car spins, the tires will give off that white smoke.
If you go look, you'll see the dust from the tires. It's a black residue, and that will probably improve as we put as cars running. We put rubber down, but I did notice no smoke and quite a bit of a haze, as if the tires were just rubbering off. The rubber is coming off a tire.
We have heard from Carl Edwards. Larry, Darrell, and I sat down this morning with Brad Keselowski. We'll tell you what we learned from Brad after this. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup practice from Bristol is brought to you by Lumber Liquidators, hardwood flooring for less. And by ZigTech from Reebok, the energy drink for your feet. Kyle Busch's car under repair after a harmless spin in turn number 2. Where Darrell, we were talking during break, you said a lot of drivers look loose off 2.
Yeah, I just noticed turn 2 seems to be giving everybody a lot of trouble. Cars are dancing around as if there's not a lot of rubber on the racetrack, and it could be just obviously lack of grip, but they really are dancing off of 2 over there.
We sat down with Brad Keselowski this morning, and while I think he's willing to let the past be the past, as what Carl said, nothing in that conversation would lead me to believe that he's going to come out here on Sunday and drive any differently than he has to date.
Well, it's kind of interesting. We talked to Brad on the way up here. I ran into Carl, and 2 very opposing views about the situation. Carl is of the opinion that that was Atlanta and that's the end of it, and we'll see if that's true or not. But right there is where Brad says that he felt like he didn't do anything wrong. Carl just basically drove down in front of him, and right here,
that was the first shot he took at him.
This is when we started watching.
Swing and a miss, and here he connects.
The other thing that Carl said is something that I think we all would have agree with. He said, I had no idea that car would do what it did.
Right.
He said, I just wanted to bump him and spin him out. That's what my intentions were.
And everyone at NASCAR from Mike Helton on down said, we don't have a history of cars getting airborne at 1.5 mile tracks.
And I know Darrell, may have one perspective, but I guess if I put my old crew chief hat back on, if I'm Jay Guy, Brad Keselowski's crew chief, or Bob Osborne, Carl Edwards, I guess my point in case coming into Bristol is the fact that, guys, looking at Carl, we're 20th in the points. We have 1 top 10 finish to show for our season, 9th at Daytona. And if I'm Jay Guy, look at Brad, we're 33rd in the points. You better let Atlanta stay in Atlanta. We need to come here and have a good, solid run and forget about any retaliation, vendettas, or anything else that might exist.
And I think where NASCAR was coming from, they saw the incident and they realized what happened. Their bigger concern was these cars flying through the air the way they have been. And that's something I think they were focused on as much as anything. Like you said, they're not used to seeing a car fly on 1.5 miles like that. So that's part of the getting rid of the wing theory.
And beginning next week at Martinsville, we go to the rear spoiler instead of the wing. And perhaps more importantly, from an aerodynamic sense, that strip that extends down the rear window will extend all the way past to the spoiler on the trunk, much as we saw it at Daytona.
I am of the opinion, after looking at Brad's car, particularly at Atlanta, that why the cars are flying is the roof flaps are deploying, but they're not effective because the wing is deflecting the air over the car, and it's not allowing the roof flaps to set the car back down like we normally would see it do. That's what I've observed.
But what I do applaud NASCAR, Robin Pemberton, Mike Helton, John Darby, is they are not rocking back on their heels and saying, oh, we're going to put the spoiler on, everything's going to be great, the cars will never fly again. We've had plenty of cars fly with the old rear spoiler. We all are convinced the spoiler's going to be better, but they are working diligently to make sure at the faster racetracks, even with our old conventional rear spoiler, that they're doing everything they can. I know they're even looking at things underneath the back of the car to make sure these cars stay on the ground.
One other story this week, as we have a look at Sam Hornish, is This is the final race in which last year's top 35 owner points determine the qualifying exemptions. So here are the drivers who must qualify on time. We know Bobby Labonte will be in the show. He's a past champion. And we know that Terry Cook and Casey Mears are trying to make their first start of the season, but there's a new name on this list. Well, not a brand new name, but here's Michael Waltrip, and he's in the Prism Motorsports 55 this week.
But Mike, you're right. You talk about the top 35. When we go to Martinsville, it will be a whole new group for the most part that's locked in. And right now, 33rd through 39th, that's 7 race teams, and that includes Brad Keselowski. It actually includes some teammates like Travis Quapple and Kevin Conway. Those 7 teams separated by 48 points, and trust me, you want to go to Martinsville and be locked in, not have to worry about qualifying.
And at least one team has made a change reflective of that, Larry. The number 26, Boris said, has climbed out of the car, and ex-Penske racing driver David Stremme will be behind the wheel of the 26 this week. Stremme has a good track record here at Bristol, so this is the car that he will try to get into the field and into the top 35, so they won't have to worry about qualifying next week in Martinsville.
Yeah, I think that's a wise move because we know Stremme is he's a good short track racer. That's where he came from. He'll give that car a good. It'll have every opportunity it needs to run good here this weekend and stay in the top 35.
The one thing I noticed about that 26 car that I like for the first time in 5 races, there's sponsorship on that car from the Air National Guard this weekend.
Now Terry Cook is in the top 10 in practice speed so far. He posted a good lap early, 1596, and right now he stands 10th on the board, trying to make his first Cup race of the season.
Well, we're looking at Mark Martin right now in the 5 car. He's second quickest, but when I look at Terry Cook and then also Casey Mears in the 90 car, they don't need to worry about nothing today but trying to run fast, because that's 2 cars that's not made a race yet in 2010.
Well, let's circle back around to Kyle Busch and get some follow-up on that spin up in turn 2. Krista?
Yeah, Kyle Busch had gone back out. Dave Rogers was concerned with the right front tire before he went out. He said that was where he saw the small issue, and he thought that would be where the problem was. Kyle said the right front was fine. It was the right rear that was chattering on that last run. They were just on the radio talking about the changes they're going to make. Sounds like they're going to do pull some spring rubbers out, possibly a shock change, a front bar change possibly as well with the 18.
Yeah, that's what we saw with that car. It looked like the rear of the car, especially the right rear, was causing him a problem. The car jumped out from under him a couple of times before he finally spun it.
Jimmy Johnson has the fastest lap of this session, ahead of Mark Martin, Denny Hamlin, Dave Blaney, and Carl Edwards. Smack, track smack. Bobby Labonte spins. The car got around between 3 and 4 and up into the safer barrier.
And you know what's so aggravating about this? He's in the race.
But I'm going to tell you what, when Bobby Labonte spins out on his own like that,
Yeah.
something's not right. There's just no grip in this racetrack right now.
When he came off that racetrack, he was definitely not happy.
But his car got loose the minute he turned it off the wall to turn down in the corner.
It just appears, Larry, I know we've only had a few cars and not much practice so far, but I don't see any rubber getting laid down. The track looks as slick as it did when they started.
But you're right, that car was loose in.
Yeah.
Most of what we've seen in this session are cars that are loose coming off. And look at that concrete. It looks as if it has just been put down. It's pristine. There's no rubber buildup at all. Here's today's Toyota Sponsifier track description. Bristol now measured at .533. I think we used to call it a 5/8 mile, but it's a half mile now. Steeply banked, variable banking up to 30 degrees in the corners, equal length straightaways. Krista?
We talked about the lack of grip out there. Bobby Labonte knows this track very well. Is it just not rubbering up? Is there no grip? What's going on out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a little slippery, but, you know, we'd fought tight in the center and, you know, just never even really got there. So it was very frustrating.
Thanks, Bobby. Matt?
And Krista, a lot of drivers trying to dissect this racetrack. For Kurt Busch, 30th in practice early on, but still a lot of time left. What is your car giving you feedback-wise?
The track's just real green, and so it's hard to get grip out of the right side tires right now. So loose on entry, real tight in the middle. The exit, I'm so slow on those two parts of the track that it's okay on exit, but a lot of work to be done on the Miller Lite Dodge. I feel like the setup we unloaded with was a top 10 setup last fall. Now we just got to abort that, go to something different.
Thanks, Kurt.
A totally different racetrack confronts the drivers at Bristol, and we're not talking about extending the safer barrier. Nonetheless, same name at the top of the chart. Tonight on Speed, the ultimate Friday night house party in Bristol gets a little rowdy. Rowdy as in Kyle Busch. And it gets a coat of silver from the Silver Fox, David Pearson. You won't want to miss NASCAR Trackside tonight at 7 o'clock.
Carl Edwards is going to drop by for a little visit, too.
A drive-by?
Yeah, maybe a drive-by. You
Well,
might call it that.
Yeah. Cool.
But, Mike, you know, we've been talking about this racetrack, and if you just, there's Jimmy Johnson has spun out. Coming down the front straightaway.
Now,
the good news is I don't think he hit anything.
That right there tells you all you need to know, folks. The track is slick.
It's not the first time we've seen Jimmy spin down a straightaway that's very narrow and not hit anything. He did it over qualifying a couple of years ago.
This will start way back here, coming off turn 4, and all the way down to the end of the front straightaway.
Now here's a further look.
And you know where he was very lucky, because what normally happens in this case is you end up catching the inside wall before you clear it at the end of pit road. That's where he was very lucky there.
What I see and what I'm hearing is some of these guys are all complaining about tight in the middle. And Larry, you know, what happens is you start to try to free the car up where it'll cut through the middle, and then you're either going to be way, way too loose getting in or way, way too loose getting off.
One thing I was watching for in that replay from the trackside camera, as again, Darrell, like in the Kyle Busch spin, there's no smoke, but a tremendous amount of dust. And I hate to say that the last time we saw tires behave like this was 2 years ago at Indianapolis, where the track never rubbered up, but it sent these little, not even marbles,
no,
dust, like a racer dust, up to the top of the racetrack, and the cars never got a grip.
This track is not happy because it's powdering up.
Oof. Krista.
Well, I just heard his teammate call his car lazy, talking about Jeff Burton. Let's talk to Clint Boyer. How would you describe your race car right now?
Well, mine was slow, but you know, he was here and did the test here, so we're going to switch things over and kind of go off of his setup. Hopefully we get a lot better. That's why you have teammates. Why you got to come here and learn with different setups. Hopefully you can come up with a good package. But that's certainly where we're at. Guys are just finishing up at the BBT Chevrolet. Hit tires just feels really, really hard. Seeing a lot of guys spin out already really early into practice, so just trying to make sure we got good grip and keep it underneath heavy.
Sounds like perfect conditions for a dirt track racing.
You know, Mike, Darrell touched on it earlier, and we were talking about it. This is the same combination of left and right side tires that the Cup cars ran at Indy last year. And this right side, the Nationwide cars ran it in the fall race, the August race here last year.
Kyle Busch back out. He has yet to post a fast lap.
I don't think he's happy yet, though. He's not up to speed like he would. I'm pretty sure like he'd like to be. I think he's tippy-toeing around here right now, and you're going to see him come right back in.
Now he's running 17-second laps.
He couldn't get back into gas at all, so the car's bad loose.
Pretty much the same for Tony Stewart, whose quickest lap is a 16.1. He's running 16.3s right now. Where Denny Hamlin's last lap was a 15.7.
You carry so much speed through the corners here. I mean, you just burp the throttle almost, and because of that, when the car starts to wiggle a little bit, there's no saving it. You just don't have a second chance here very often.
And unless a lot changes before qualifying this afternoon, I think it's going to be quite the challenge. And I think you're going to be really walking a tightrope between underdriving and overdriving. And the guys I think about is that list we saw a while ago, those guys that have to go or go home.
45 cars are entered. They've all practiced. 2 will go home.
And that's the tempting thing about this little racetrack. It's driving it's got so much banking and you just think you can just drive in the corner just almost wide open and the car will stick. But really and truly, if we had our throttle trace, you look at Jeff Gordon and some of the guys that get around here really, really well, they back off early. But when they pick the throttle up in the middle of the corner, and that's why the car has to turn in the middle of the corner, is that's how you make your time here. Not how hard you go in, but how quick you get back in the gas.
Have you sent your census form back?
My wife did.
Yep.
My wife did.
We did this week, and we'll ask all of you to help save some of your tax dollars. That's what this sponsorship is about on Greg Biffle's car, encouraging you to fill out your census form and send it in. The more people who do that, the less census takers the government has to spend your tax money on to come to your door and ask you for that information.
The numbers are very simple, Mike. If you send it back in by mail, it costs our government 42 cents per household. If you don't, and they have to send a census taker out, it's $57 per household.
Wow.
So the numbers don't lie there.
David Reagan, 35th on the board right now with a quick lap of 16.1. And Mark Martin, Matt, has just come back out on track for, what's this, a third run?
Third run, Mike, and he's pleased with that 5 car, and it shows on the stopwatch, currently second on the board. He says the track is starting to really come around. His car still a little free everywhere except right in the center of turns 1 and 2 when it's tight. But so far, so good for the 5 fans.
And actually, I'm actually starting to see the track darken in the groove on both ends of the speedway. So this concrete, it takes a little bit of time. It's hard to get rubber in the concrete. It'll stay on top of the concrete, but it doesn't want to necessarily go down into the pores like it does on asphalt. So it takes a little bit of time to get a layer of rubber built up on top of the concrete.
You can see it right in where the right side tires of Jamie McMurray's car were running in the middle of the corner. So that's good news. The track is starting to rubber up. Hey, Terry Cook, top 5. How about that?
Gotta go or go home.
He's cooking, baby.
Sunday NASCAR race day rolls into Thunder Valley. The dust still settling from Atlanta, so they'll weigh in on Carl Edwards' penalty, or probation it is, and talk live with Atlanta race winner Kurt Busch. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot, live Sunday Eastern at 10, only on Speed.
You know, I was watching Marcos Ambrose right now. He is 37th quickest, but other than the road courses, his best racetrack was this racetrack here. Both races last year he finished 3rd. And he finished 10th in the race we did in the spring on 7 cylinders about 2/3 of the race.
And I think some of that is because, again, as I said, the best way to race this track is off early and back in the gas quick. What do you do on a road course?
Same thing.
You back off, get the car set, and you go. And I think that helps him here.
Have you seen, either of you seen any of the Australian Supercar Series races on Speed?
Oh yeah.
My gosh.
Those boys race now.
That's wild.
Not sure some of our buddies here would make out too good in that series, because when they drop the green flag, all heck breaks loose.
That's right.
There won't be no complaining about being raced on.
No, and teammates, it don't matter who you are.
Big news out of the Jeff Gordon camp. They are expecting their 2nd child later this summer, and it'll be a boy.
And you know, I listened to his press conference, and he said certainly in the perfect world. He said, now this will be the caboose, I can promise you that. He said, yeah, in the perfect world, you know, we would love to have a little girl and a little boy, which it sounds like that's what's going to happen. But obviously the right attitude, all that him and Ingrid cared about was that the baby would be healthy. But when you think about Jeff Gordon at this place, you know, 34 starts, 5 poles, 5 wins, but here's the number blew me away. He's led almost 2,500 laps at this racetrack.
That's a lot of laps.
5 races worth.
5 races.
David Ruderman
Where does Splitters end
up into the top dozen.
We quit before he got any more descriptive about
Now, because it's possible, folks, when you hear half a sentence from a driver or a crew chief, it's possible that some colorful language is involved in the half of the sentence you don't hear.
Yeah, just fill in the blanks.
We're not trying to deny you the rest of that conversation. It just happens that way.
And going back to what I said at the top of the show, Bristol has a way of bringing colorful language out.
Yes, it does. Kind of lost in the shuffle of the Carl and Brad dust up of Atlanta was Joey Logano, who was the real victim of that crash at lap 39. He was in the high lane when Brad and Carl got together. Carl got pushed up into Logano, effectively ending Joey's chance for a good finish.
And you wouldn't think this, but he is the highest setting Gibbs car in the points right now. I think he's 14th. And I don't know the last time that we've had Gibbs cars that far back in the points at this point in the season.
And to pile on that number, Darrell, who would ever believe, especially with Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, 4 races into this season, Joe Gibbs Racing total would have 2 top 10 finishes, and both of them by that 20 car.
The way Denny finished last season, and the way Kyle is, after winning his nationwide championship, was poised for a run at the title this year. They've got some making up to do.
Well, one thing I've noticed about Joey, and I think Larry knows this as well, since I've been following him, he is a very wise little race car driver. He really stays out of trouble, keeps his car going all day long, and brings it home. And I think that's really going to pay off for him. I like the way he races.
I agree, Darrell. Behind the wheel, he displays the maturity of drivers half again his age.
Yep.
But that's what he's done in everything he's ever raced. You know, going back to go-karts and quarter midgets and bandoleros, Allison Legacy, it didn't matter. It's his ability to adapt and adapt quickly. Obviously, it took a little longer with these Cup cars, but I think we all knew eventually he would be performing as he is now.
Saw him win the ARCA race a couple of years ago at Rockingham.
Right.
He would lead a while, then the other guys would get tired or whatever, and they'd pass him, and he'd sit there and wait. But when it came time to win the money, to get the trophy, he stood on the gas, and he did the same thing to Toyota All-Star Shootout a couple of times. Sat there, let other people kind of race him, but when it come time to go, he'd win.
Big attaboy to the folks at smellmycar.com. It's a funny sounding website, but they make car air fresheners. And they said, no, we didn't make the race with Casey Mears, but you know, he had that engine trouble, and we were happy with the exposure we got. We're going to come back and give him another race and help him try to get in the show. So I know they appreciate it, and we appreciate it that some of these fellows that don't have full-time sponsors have a bit of a shot. And Casey, 9th quickest, Larry.
And I'm not surprised at that. Here's the list of the go or go homers must qualify on time, because they did a tire test here last year, and they brought nationwide cars, camping roll trucks, and one Sprint Cup car. And the Sprint Cup car they brought, Casey Mears was driving it, so maybe he kind of has a feel for what this tire is going to be like. But I think what we've got with an hour-and-a-half practice at a half-mile racetrack, you can log a lot of laps. I think we've got most of our top 35 guys on race setup right now, and that last 30 minutes we'll really start to see that practice sheet change.
This car right here is the one that's they've not helped this car much at all. He's sitting back there right now in 42nd spot on the sheet. And I watched the car. It is very, very nervous. It's not in the track at all.
You finally touched it where I could at least drive it, but the more I go, the more I feel the right rear tire.
This is what it looks like. It's like like the whole car is sitting on the right rear.
You want your big news story? We'll tell you about Scott Speed's hair when we come back. NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile lets you in on what's happening now on the Now Network. Best 5-lap average in this practice session, 16.070 for Juan Pablo Montoya, ahead of Matt Kenseth, Scott Speed, Jeff Burton, and Greg Biffle. Paul Menard sure had a great run in Atlanta.
Boy, he did, and it wasn't just like he lucked into it at the finish. He ran good all day long, and at the end there with all those green, white checker restarts and everything, he sat there and brought her home 5th place.
But you know the thing about it, guys, not only did he have a great run there, he's been solid all year long. He's sitting 9th in the points. He's completed every lap of competition and all top 20 finishes so far.
Great start to the season. Top 20 finishes in all the first 4 races. 9th in the points. Look at that compared to last year.
0 in 09 and 4 already in 010.
First time he's ever been in the top 10 in the Sprint Cup standings.
But when you think about it, you know, just look at the guys we've got in the top 10 or 12 right now that you'd never expect. Paul Menard, Scott Speed. And look at the guys that are well outside. We saw one a while ago, Denny Hamlin. And think about Ryan Newman, Montoya. All these guys were chase drivers in 2009.
Matt, what's the story on Jeff Gordon, who looks like he's been slip-sliding away out there?
Absolutely, Mike, and that is exactly what Jeff Gordon has been telling Steve Letarte. The car is not tight anywhere. Really feels like the car is riding on that right front. They felt like they've got a car that'll turn, but Goodyear also brought a tire that will turn, so they're trying to back off. They put a shim in the right front. And he says basically we're just going to have to make small tweaks, just trying to find more and more the nuances of what this new tire they brought to Bristol requires.
It just seems to me like as I listen to drivers through the years, particularly with this car and the tire combination they have today, older drivers seem to drive off the right front. They like to feel that right front in the racetrack. Dale Jr. comes to mind. Always complain about on the right front. Jeff Gordon, right front. Younger drivers, they are always worried about the right rear. They want to feel that right rear. And where is the rear of the car? Just a difference in, I think, driving styles based on your experience.
And then they come here doing things no different than they do anywhere else. They put that big right rear spring in there to keep that left front pin and that right rear up. And if the car has no grip, you're going to be sideways getting in the corner and off the corner.
Casey Kane coming in after a run. Martin Truex just tried to knock the wall down in turn 2. Boy, it is looks like driving on ice, Darrell.
It really does. It just looks like if you push it too hard, you get in trouble. I noticed every driver, you can just tell they're not getting back in the throttle wide open. They're kind of playing with it, trying to get the car off the corner.
You know, as we looked at Casey Kane, not only will his World of Outlaw teams be racing over at Bulls Gap, Tennessee, he's actually going to be driving one of his own cars over there as well. So I guess this is a good tune-up the way these cars are driving right now.
When is that?
I think it was, is it tonight and tomorrow night?
Tonight.
Yeah.
Where is Bulls Gap?
40 minutes to the east. To the west.
To the west.
I had a 50-50 shot of getting it right.
Bulls Gap, not Fool's Gap.
A man with my hand signals behind me. He was pointing one direction, I think saying another.
Oh, south on I-81 to exit 23. Turn right on Highway 11 east. Steve Kinzer, Donnie Schatz.
A little bit loose, getting in. I'm going to need to lose some power.
Montoya there. Saldana, Lasowski, all the Outlaws. Racing at 7:30 tonight and tomorrow night. Volunteer Speedway. I read on Brad Keselowski's Twitter account that I guess this was a week or two ago, that he was in a restaurant and in came Denny Hamlin. Sat down to have dinner. Now, back in the Allison Petty feuding days, if one was in a restaurant and the other walked in, the second to arrive would be the first to leave. Just turn right around and go. But Brad said on his Twitter account, he said, I sent over a nice bottle of wine. He said, but don't worry, I'm still going to race them the same way.
There you go.
Might have sent over a nice bottle of wine, but I sent it back.
Where's Jeff Burton, 23rd on the list right now. I think that makes him the quickest of the Childress cars at the moment.
Didn't they say he did some tire testing here?
Well, he did it, and then Casey Mears was over here last year. And you know, Darrell, Jeff, and myself, we do lunch with benefits on foxsports.com, the 3-wide coverage on Friday. And one of our big topics this past Friday, which would actually be airing today, would be we felt like that the Childress cars, not that they've been sleepers this year, but that they possibly could be the sleepers coming in here to Bristol, because you think back a couple of years ago, they finished first, second, third. Jeff Burton actually won the race.
Well, right now, actually, it's Harvick who is 21st. Burton is 24th. And you heard their teammate Clint Boyer talking about this practice session. He's down in 38th. Krista?
Let's give you an update, Mike, on the 29 then of Kevin Harvick. On the last run, he said the car is good. On the last stop, they took a little right spring out of the car, and Kevin said, that's fine, but don't you dare give up any of my grip.
Well, and I think this goes back to what Darrell was talking about a while ago. If your car is pushing and not turning in the middle, you keep working on it till you get it so loose getting in and so loose getting off. If it's loose, you've got to work on the back end of the car. Don't give up the front grip, just make the back stick.
Just turn the steering wheel more. There you go, like
that's
that.
what Hammond used to tell you.
There you go.
Speed's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup practice is brought to you by Harley-Davidson. The Ride Easy Guarantee going on now at your Harley-Davidson dealer. Matt Kenseth is another of the drivers who seems to have had more difficulty at turn 2 than turn 4. He's 26th on the speed chart. And a couple of times the car right there has almost got out from under him. But as Darrell pointed out, the track is starting to rubber up. And there you see a bit of rubber laid down in the groove, at least as far as the right side tires are concerned. David Gilliland, 6th fastest in the Taco Bell Ford. And right now lapping at 15.7. In fact, his last lap was his quickest lap so far. And so times are coming down. Now Max Pappas currently 44th, and this could be a tough race to make for the road racer.
It could, Mike. You know, he attempted the race here in August, and they did not make the race, and he was quite a bit off of the last car that actually got in. And right now we know Bobby Labonte's going to be in this show, but Max Pappas, Scott Speed would be the two as far as our practice sheet, but I think we're going to start to see a lot of that change here shortly.
Second fastest of the Go-Go homers as of the lap you just saw is Mike Bliss. The Wave Energy Drink Chevy. Dave Blaney is the quickest of that group. And right there in 7th, that is Michael Waltrip in his familiar number 55, though that now belongs to Prism Motorsports. And look at the tail light panel on that car when we get a chance. And it's a get well message as everybody here at this Speedway misses track president Jeff Bird, who's taken a leave of absence for a health issue and is currently in hospital. Doctors, according to a release issued within the hour, say that they have identified and begun specific treatment for his problem, and he's going to miss being here with 150,000 of his closest friends, but he and his wife Claudia and family really appreciate the support. And Jay Bird, we miss you. Hope you're back at the track soon.
Great guy. Look forward to seeing him back very soon.
Had a long career in motorsports, beginning with R.J. Reynolds when this was the Winston Cup Series.
You know, I believe this guy here is somebody that you're going to have to deal with on Sunday. This 2-car. You think about his success here and his crew chief's success here. It wouldn't surprise me to see this car really be on top of his game Sunday. Looks pretty good right now getting around here, I can tell you.
Yeah, Kyle Busch won both races last year. Of course, his crew chief then was Steve Addington, who's on this 2-car now.
Good point. Matt?
And one guy we always have to contend with when you're coming here to the high banks from Bristol's Greg Biffle, but currently on the second page basically of the scoring monitor on the right side. Are you battling the same kind of issues everybody else? Lack of grip, trying to get the car to turn better?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the deal is. I guess a different, it's obviously a different tire, and the cars just don't have any grip going down in the corner. So they're really hard to drive, and they don't want to turn in the middle, tighten them up a little bit, and then they're loose on the gas. So we'll keep working on it here. We're switching to qualifying now, so we see if we get a good start spot. Work on it tomorrow, and see if we get a better race trim. But not looking good so far. It seems like it's going to be hard to race side by side.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Now, oftentimes we go to a track and the fastest laps are turned in the first lap or 2 of the session. But among the top 10 drivers in this session, only 2 of them turned their fastest lap early. Right now is when the times are coming down, the speeds are going up.
Well, I think that's just as we have already noted. You can see up there to the right on your screen, the track is starting to take some rubber, starting to black up a little bit, and as that improves, the speeds will improve.
You know, Darrell, I've got to believe something that these crew chiefs, drivers, engineers are going to be debating as this practice gets near the end. do we want to put a little bit of time on our qualifying tires? You know, I would almost question, would stickers be the way to go? I think I'd at least maybe want to knock that newness off.
Yeah, Larry, I think here always what we would do is what we call roll them in. Put your qualifying tires on, go out, maybe run into the third turn, not wide open, but run in there, knock those stickers off, get that glaze off the top of the tire, and then you're ready to qualify. It just gives you security getting up to speed.
Are you ready to discover NASCAR Nation's next great superstar? Join hosts Michael Waltrip and Carissa Thompson as America's most unique performers cut loose each week on the speed stage and compete for their chance to become a star. A talent competition so wild it could only happen at trackside. Catch an all-new episode of Fast Track to Fame this Monday on Speed.
And there's your host right there. And you know what's interesting, the first two shows, I mean, they've had some great singers on there. But we had the fiddle player that won at Las Vegas, and then it was like the cloggers that won down in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago.
I tell you, my brother should have been a clogger, you know. It's about the only thing he hadn't done, I think. He's got the feet for it. You know, you might ask yourself, as we watch Jamie McMurray here, you might ask yourself, why would Michael want to come to Bristol and qualify a car and try to make the race? Remember how well he ran here last year?
Last August especially.
Yeah, one of his, what really, and that's, I'm sure that's in his mind.
Yeah, he was wheeling it.
Yeah, I used to tell Stevie, the last time I was at Martinsville or Bristol,
right.
She said, how long ago was that?
Jamie Mack just blistered the track and puts himself up into the top 10, 8th quickest for McMurray. Carl Edwards 4th fastest. His 10th lap, the one he just ran, is his quickest of the day.
It's like he's got his car running pretty well today. That's one way to stay out of trouble. Have a fast car.
Eric Almirola is 12th fastest. He must qualify on time. And right now he's the 3rd quickest of that group.
And I think as we look at Terry Cook and Almirola and some of these guys, that you know, they're working solely on qualifying. So they're going to have what you see with them is what you're going to get.
You know, looking at Eric Almirola in this 09 car that's owned by James Finch, and there's the guy that have to qualify on time right there. A guy that has raced this car several times over the last couple of years. Sterling Marlin actually this week announced that he's officially done retiring from Sprint Cup racing.
Yep.
He's going to do some late model racing maybe around the Southeast, but the guy that won the Daytona 500 2 times, actually won Daytona 3 times total, up in the points battle for several years. Hope Sterling will still come hang out with us and visit us here at the NASCAR tracks.
Stick in the spoke, blow it up.
Done.
That's it. Going home.
But what a wheel man.
We've had more fun.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually enjoyed going. We traveled, you know, when he was racing a little bit, we would go to the West Coast together. And of course, we spent a lot of time together when you go to the West Coast. And some of the stories that he would remember and then I could embellish, and we've had some of the best times on our little trips out to California.
Dale Jr.'s up in the top 10, his 14th lap, that one you just saw, 15:76, 9th fastest overall.
And I tell you, he actually had his hands full with that lap there, but he was on the throttle. That thing was wiggling all over the place down in turn 3 and 4.
He is just 8 1/1000ths faster than Juan Pablo Montoya.
Now, I would say the interesting thing today, when a little later on we have qualifying, what lane, what groove will Montoya run when he qualifies?
It will be unorthodox, I can promise.
But it'll probably be fast.
It'll be fast.
But you know, he just figures out what works for him. You know, I'm sure there are other drivers that wouldn't even attempt to run the kind of line that he does a lot of times, but it works for him.
Sam Hornish searching for speed. In fact, none of the Penske cars are setting the place on fire just yet.
But he, just like his teammates at Atlanta, was having a really good run in Atlanta. His car was fast. He was up there in the top 10 for a while, and then it had something happen to the engine. I don't know if it was ignition, spark plugs, or what.
And he just ran, Hornish that is, just ran the 9th quickest lap of the day. So he is there. Denny Hamlin, 7th fastest. And here is Scott Speed. See the blue on that, on the can on the hood? That's the color of Scott's hair this week. You know, it was, I think they call it frosted gold, kind of with frosted tips in Atlanta. And the best I can relate it to is, do you remember as a boy the Superman comic books, and when they draw Superman, his hair would be black with kind of blue highlights? Well, that is the hair of the driver who has just run the second fastest lap of the day.
Yeah, he likes this place. I think he sat on pole here in a truck race 2 or 3 years ago, so he likes this place.
Yeah, he qualified third last August, and you're right, Daryl, he did sit on the pole here and finished third in 2008. And what a difference a year has made for Scott Speed. 11th in the points. A year ago at this point, 37th in the points.
Wonderful. Cool.
Well, that's
that doesn't sound like a vote of confidence to me.
but his time now matches his car number, and that's about twice as good as Kyle Busch was earlier. Jimmy Johnson still quickest. Scott Speed, who must make the race on time, now second. They may be off this weekend, but next Saturday the world's toughest trucks march into Martinsville, where tight racing and crushed metal are always part of the excitement. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live, Martinsville, March 27th, 1:30 Eastern, only on Speed.
Is there anything such as a bumper car? I know, but are there bumper trucks?
If not, there should be.
There will be next week.
Krista.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the drivers who has stepped out of his race car. What he talked about, he actually said he didn't like the changes made on that run, and here's why. He told Lance McGrew it loads up the right front in the center. It feels like when I get to the gas, has too much wedge and drives up heavy. Matt, the line he used, it disconnects the race car.
And Denny Hamlin, who scored top fives here at Bristol in both races 1 year ago, says they are making big progress on this 11 machine. They have fixed his issue on the first third of the corner, the entry. They're still trying to work on the center to exit because he has to wait on it so much. When he jumps back in the gas, it just shoves the nose all the way off the corner. Right now, Mike Ford dissecting what to do next, what their next game plan is going to be to fix that exit. But so far, the car looks good on the stopwatch, and Denny's pleased with it on the racetrack. Fourth fastest.
But I will say, he's one of the first cars I've heard complain about being tight on the exit. You would think, okay, we might can get that out of there.
I like tight here. That means you can put the power down. When you're tight enough coming off the corner, you can put that 850 horsepower to use.
The Gibbs cars pretty well up in this session. Hamlin is 4th, Logano is 10th, and Kyle Busch now 20th.
I still look, everybody's still pretty cautious off of 2 over there. You can almost see the cars lunge forward and then kind of like the driver lets up just a little bit and then it goes again.
But you know, right now, and I think this will continue to change. In fact, I think it'll even get tighter. But Jimmy Johnson is the fastest at a 15:53. Michael Waltrip, as the practice sheet is, would go home at a 15:97. And I think that's only going to get tighter when we get into qualifying.
I'd say it'll be within 3 or 4 tenths. Pole to the guy that goes home.
Brian Vickers, 18th fastest.
Expect that pole speed's going to be down about a 15, maybe 20 by the time when they get everything ready to go.
It's going to be one of the faster laps that this car has ever run here. And what you got to remember, the track record, and I never will forget, we all were speechless.
We were.
Back in March of 2003, Ryan Newman ran a 14.90 average over 128 miles an hour around this half-mile racetrack.
That day, I just dropped my jaw. I didn't think I'd ever see a car go around. Well, never thought I'd see one go around here in 15 seconds, to tell you the truth. But then to see him go around here that day in 14.90, that just blew me away.
Mark Martin jumps up to 3rd. Early in this session, he was 2nd.
And you know, back to Ryan Newman, that's where I think we actually gave him the nickname, the Rocket Man, was on that very day.
Well, they lit the fuse that day, I can tell you.
Sam Hornish back out. He's now 12th on the board.
Just look at those first 5 in times: 53, 57, 57, 59, 59. That's the first 5 cars.
Hornish has run 50 laps. That's more than anyone except Kevin Conway, who's run 54.
back to Sam Hornish. I talked to his crew chief this morning, Travis Geisler, and because I think it's been one of Sam's tendency over the course of his 2.5 years on the circuit. And I said, Travis, when did you start maybe talking to Sam about not overdriving the corner when he got here to Bristol? He said probably before the race ended in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago.
33 car just ran a pretty nice lap, moved him up to 8th quickest, and that car really was eating on the bottom of the racetrack. That thing looked pretty good going around there.
Jimmy Johnson's back out. We'll see if he can improve on 15:53 as Joe Nemechek finishes up his lap. Joe is 22nd on the board with a 15:89. Carl Edwards 7th right now with a 15:62.
I think Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car, who's our fastest, he's making another little practice qualifying run here with about 25 minutes to go. His fast time right now is at 15:533. We'll see if he can better that.
57 on that first time by. 59 on his car's real consistent. Fast lap of 53. Just ran a 7 and a 9.
So Jimmy Johnson, Scott Speed, Mark Martin, David Gilliland, and Denny Hamlin, the Fast Five. Man-Made Thunder takes you through a visual and narrative journey from the humble beginnings of family cars racing on dirt tracks to the glitz and glamour of NASCAR today. You can buy your copy at speedtvbooks.com. Hour and 10 minutes into this session, Jimmy Johnson continues to have the fastest lap. Scott Speed, Mark Martin, David Gilliland, Denny Hamlin. In fact, Hamlin and Logano right there 5th and 6th teammates. And the Childress cars trying to move up the board. Harvick is currently 20th, and he's second to Jeff Burton, who is 14th.
I haven't seen anybody really make huge improvements in their cars. I mean, some of these guys that were really bad have helped their cars a little bit, like Kyle Busch, but I'll give you one,
Daryl. Remember Clint Boyer, how awful his car was? Clint Boyer is now 9th quickest. But you're right, in general.
Yeah, it just seemed like if your car was bad when you got here, and they haven't been able to fix it yet.
Regan Smith in the top 10 now as Tony Stewart's position matches his car number. Marcus, one of those searching for speed, 16:11 his best lap, 16:20 some his last lap.
15:93.
There we go.
That time he's still 29th, but slight improvement.
Moves him up a handful of spots. So definitely they're gaining on it. Elliott Sadler, one of a couple of drivers in the field that got their first ever Cup Series win here. He started 38th in 2001 when he won here for the Wood brothers. Kurt Busch also scored his first Cup victory here.
Do you remember that race when Elliott won? Remember what car he was driving?
He was driving the 21.
And guess who was running second?
The 43.
The 43.
I think John Andretti was driving.
Exactly. John was driving.
Poetic.
It was. It was fun to watch.
It was.
Brought back a lot of good memories. I read where Elliott's son, I think Wyatt, had some surgery this past week, and it went very well. They were very optimistic, and I hope that the Sadler family is all doing good.
I hope so. Here's Robbie Gordon. It's Blake Shelton on the hood well, it's Robbie Gordon's car. Yep. Part of that alliance with BAM Racing.
And Robbie's one of those cars I talked about earlier in the show that needs a good solid run here, because you know it's been a long time since Robbie has been outside the top 35, and he comes in here 38th in owner points, and let's face it, on any given weekend Robbie's qualifying efforts are not that great.
Blake Shelton's on. I have a CD that's David Foster. David Foster, great composer, songwriter. Blake does a song on that album. It's a concert from Vegas. Blow You Away. The man can do some singing now. Got a beautiful voice. Big, booming voice.
One of the big deals at Bristol last August, the fans loved it. The drivers came out from a shrouded area in turn 3 to a musical introduction of their choosing. And it was a lot of fun for the drivers. They enjoyed it. The fans loved it. And a week ago, each driver picked his song that he wants to be introduced by. They're going to continue the tradition here this Sunday. Of note, Carl Edwards, I think the song's Black Betty, and it has that Bama Lamb in it about 100,000 times. Guess what Brad Keselowski picked?
I know it's Tom Petty's
the
singer.
Tom Petty song. If you're a Tom Petty fan, you can guess.
But that's definitely Mike, and I know you did the PA here for that introduction last August, and I mean, it was absolutely one of the most unbelievable driver introduction I know that I've ever witnessed.
I can't wait to hear when Brad comes out to bask in the speakers booming "I Won't Back Down."
And I bet he will bask.
Krista.
He won't back down either.
I want to give you an update on Kyle Busch. He said the last run, his car, it helped, the changes they made, but he also wondered if maybe that was because the tires had more laps on it, the longer runs, freeing the cars up a bit, Matt.
Tony Stewart enters Bristol 8th in the championship standings, a place where the past 4 spring races he has led the most laps in 3 of them. He just moved up to 14th on the board. He says the car just will not cut in the center of the corner at both ends of the racetrack. Just too tight, but it's good on exit and good on entry.
But you know, Darrell, that's another reason I would not mind running a little bit of a lap on my qualifiers at a track where thousands and hundreds can make such a difference in your qualifying run. At least you would know the characteristics of that set of tires.
Here's the dilemma. There's speed in sticker tires. There's comfort in scuff tires. So you've got to, that's where the crew chief has to really make up his mind. You know, what do I want to do here, and work with the driver to say, look, we can pick up a 10th if we can go on stickers and you can hang on to it.
And you're trying to marry the two, comfort and speed. A lot of times they just won't go together.
They don't go together at all. It's like Keselowski and Edwards.
Regan Smith 11th quickest, and A.J. Allmendinger, who also had a strong run at Atlanta, but he's on the back end of the board, 41st fastest right now.
And what did we decide the color of the car was?
I still like avocado, but they are saying it's chartreuse.
Chartreuse, yeah.
It's a French color.
I wouldn't know nothing about that.
I tell you what, around these parts, that car would just be green.
But on down the road in Birmingham, it would just be green.
You should ask Lloyd, our caterer.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
What color that is. I'm sure he can whip something up.
Well, I've seen food in his catering line about that color.
Did you help yourself to some?
No.
Neither did I. This is a home game for Lloyd. He's from just down the road of Bluff City, and what a spread he laid out for lunch, including this delicious banana pudding, which is not green. Biff, 29th right now for Biffle with a 1580. Now the lap he just ran was an 84, so he's right on that, but they're looking for 3 or 4 more tenths. 15 minutes left in this practice session, and here's a nice pleasant surprise of this session. Terry Cook still in a top 25 spot, but as we pointed out, they've been in qualifying trim from the get-go. They need to make their first race of the year if they can right here.
You know, I'm not sure we mentioned it. We saw Jimmy Johnson just a few minutes ago, and he definitely bettered his time up to a 15:52, but just before that, his teammate Mark Martin ran a 15:49, so Mark's at the top of the chart. Mark set on both poles here in 2009.
I think Junior's on a pretty good run right here, too.
There's a bunch of folks from Star Coach Race Tours that are here to see that 46 compete. While we answer the phone, let's go to Krista.
Well, Mike went and checked in with the 46 team, said, what's the difference? Why the good run? Obviously, like you said, they are in qualifying trim. They've made some changes, but the team summed it up in 2 words. Tony Furr. He has come onto the team as a consultant. He was with them in Atlanta, but just joined in the last minute, so he really didn't have time to shake things up there. He is definitely shaking things up for the good here in Bristol.
Well, and of course, a team that's missed 4 shows, you need someone to come in and shake something up.
Tony was actually with, wasn't he helping Jeremy at the beginning of last year? I think Tony
he
was over there
yeah.
with Jeremy Mayfield last year.
Was over at Hendrick Motorsports with Jerry Nadeau in that group several years ago.
Been around. Got some knowledge.
Carl Edwards is 8th on the chart. He's trying to better 1562. He's now 9th.
He bettered it. He did a little better. 58.
And things are so close, that'll move him up to 4th.
You know, he's 4th, and a guy that we know, he's locked in this show. He's been up there in the top 5 for quite a while. David Gilliland in that 38 car, 5th quickest right now.
Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup practice from Bristol brought to you by the Sponsafire. Visit ToyotaRacing.com today. Click on Design It, enter it. Take a close look at this top 5 because it's all new.
Getting serious now, boys.
Mark Martin, Casey Kane up to 2nd, Montoya to 3rd, Jimmy holds 4th, and Scott Speed to 5th. Then it's Edwards, Gilliland, Logano, and Hamlin, and Kurt Busch just pops in there in 7th.
Yeah, Scott Speed by far the fastest go or go homer right now. Dave Blaney in the 66 car just outside the top 10. He's 11th.
Ryan Newman 33rd. Past pole sitter here.
And you can see, you know, they talked about extending the safer barrier out. Well, you can see right back here what they did. The barrier did end about right along in there, and they have added this additional part here. More safer barrier obviously makes the track safer, but as you can see, it narrowed that exit up quite a bit too. That's off turn 2. They did the same thing. They did the same thing off of 4 as well. They just extended it on out.
And it looks like the track out point coming out of the corner is right about there when you get up as close to the wall as you dare get, but the wall starts here. This is all new safer barrier. So Darrell, yes, I guess if you're on the groove, it looks like it has narrowed the track up 2.5 feet or so.
Yeah, it did some, but I tell you, after driving around the track last night in the pace car, a little Mustang, and we were getting it, by the way. We're averaging about 100 miles an hour. After just a lap or two, you say, okay, that's where the wall is, and you can see, look at the black marks. Where do they end? Right at the end of where the barrier is. So you find out where your limits are, and then that's where you take it. Remember that song?
Take it to the limit?
You got it.
Right.
That would be my song.
New sheriff in town, Matt Kenseth.
Oh, boy.
When Matt Kenseth is at the top of the chart, watch out for the Killer Bees and Kenseth on Sunday.
Well, he's got a guy down there that's lit a fire underneath. I want to tell you something. The crew chief change on that car has definitely woke everybody on that team up, including the driver.
Todd Parrott over there now has been there since the 2nd race of the year. But this is actually, I was looking this morning, Mike, if there's a track that Matt Kenseth has a pretty decent qualifying record at, it is Bristol. He sat on the pole here. About half of his 20 starts has started in the top 10. So this has been a decent track for him on qualifying day. Matt is no longer at the top of the chart. Joey Logano in that 20 car just ran a 15:46. It's
kind of like now everybody's saying, okay, he ran a 47. Okay, well, I'll run a 46. Somebody will come out here in a second, run a 45. We're just inching it on down.
It's almost like musical chairs. Who's going to be at the top in the red and the black wave?
Well, we're running out of time. We're getting through the end of the practice session. So they want to, everybody's taping up and putting tires on right now.
Logano fastest, Kenseth, Martin, Kane, and Montoya.
And remember, what the speed you see now, this is not full-blown qualifying. This is taping tires. When they get ready to qualify, they'll jack these bad boys up. They'll put different fluids and everything. They'll make some other minor adjustments, and you'll pick up another couple of tenths off your practice time.
But I think you're right. I think if somebody hits his marks, we could be down in those low, mid 15 teens.
I think so. Probably cool off a little bit here later on.
Jamie Mack moves to 16th, and our fashion correspondent, Chris Devoda, has caught up with this week's top story.
Yes, a top story because of what's up top. You're looking at Scott Speed's hair, black and blue. I guess that's appropriate because some of these cars are going to be black and blue at Bristol, but I guess my first question is, why?
Well, honestly, I just got bored with everything, you know? I've always had some kind of crazy mohawk or something going on, so yeah, wanted to try something different. Life's short, you gotta live it.
And my best part is that your wife hates it, right? Amanda hates it?
Oh yeah. No question, the wife definitely hates it, but it came out a lot better than I thought it would, and I love it. So I think she's gonna have to deal with it for a while.
All right, that's Scott Speed. It's not just the hair, his car is really good also, Mike.
Well, thanks, Christopher. It must have been a hard story to chase down for us, but we appreciate it.
I have a little bit of advice. You know that hat he had on in Atlanta?
Yeah, that.
I think you might want to go get it.
You know, some things I'm just not going to do commentary on. I think the pictures are worth 1,000 words.
Larry, now why would you be commentating on hair anyway? You burned all yours off.
Meanwhile,
some things I just won't comment on.
Ambrose is 20 seconds.
I've seen you with your hair. When you had hair, I saw it on fire a couple of times.
Literally.
Casey Kane was top of the chart, now 5th.
What do you mean it's all green?
Oh, that's such a great story.
Well, that story will live in forever.
Yes, it will.
That'll be your signature story. Other than going to victory lane in the Daytona 500, that will be your signature story.
That's when he became.
Is that in the book, or are you saving that for the next book?
It's in the book. It's in the book. Trust me.
See, that's when he became a student of the Weather Channel.
And you know what? You're right. Oh, by the way,
that'll never happen to me again.
All right. Now that we've pulled that chain, can you tell that story in 30 seconds?
I'll do it as quick as possible. 1992 Southern 500, Davey Allison 28 car. If we win this race, not only do we win the Southern 500, we win the Winston Million, which was a bonus they paid for winning 3 of their big 4 races. We had led the race, and weather was lurking the whole time, but we were getting very low on tires and fuel, I might add. Past the halfway point, Darrell, it has a decent car, but it's definitely not probably a race-winning car. I'd send a guy to the radar to check it. He comes back, he said, radar looks good, you're good to go. Okay, pit now. When Davey pits and we get to the end of pit road to go back out on the racetrack, the bottom falls out. And I looked at the guy that basically gave me this information. I said, you told me it was good to go. He said, I don't understand it. It was green all over. And I guess he thought green was good to go.
2 things there that I'm going to comment on. There was something else lurking, and that was us. We weren't just lurking, you know, like the weather. And Larry, how much did that cost you?
I don't know personally. Probably a good chunk of this hair you keep talking about.
A little bonus, I'm sure.
Well, we've had a lot of fun talking about short tracks and lap times and hot laps, but this practice session is almost to a close. And it looks like Joey Logano may be able to hold the top spot with a lap of 15:46.
There's a bunch of guys still throwing tires at it. Here comes a 9 car out and 88's back out. A number of cars are hitting the track with 4 tires.
Yeah, Dale Jr.'s 30th quickest right now. Let's see what this first lap does for him. He was a 15:74, runs a 15:75. So he stays 30th. And I think this will be one of those qualifying sessions where it's going to be hard to predict what lap will be the quickest, because you would almost think that your first lap would be the quickest, but if you can step it up and not step across that line on lap 2, you may can run a little bit quicker.
One of the things you really have to concentrate on here is getting up to speed, because when you come out of the pits down here, it's kind of treacherous getting up on the racetrack. You have got to go through the gears as hard as you can down that back straightaway to get up to speed on that first lap.
Martin Truex Jr. has showed up in the top 10 in that 56 Napa car. He's 7th quickest.
And that doesn't surprise me. You think about Pat Tryson, had a lot of success here with Kurt Busch.
Jeff Gordon 10th quickest. As far as laps run in this session, Kevin Conway making his first Cup visit here. He's run 63 laps in that 37 car.
I have to give Kevin a lot of credit. They've done a nice job of, they're not in the top 35, but they're right there.
And Joe Nemechek with a sponsor. Local chain Computer Works has a couple of stores around Knoxville, Tennessee to serve the university area there. They're backing Nemechek's efforts, I think, in both series this year.
Are they to the east or the west of the racetrack? West.
That'd be west. Go west, young man. And Joey Logano wins practice. Matt Kenseth, Mark Martin, Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane, Montoya, Truex, Speed, Edwards, and Gordon. So Scott Speed by a good margin, the fastest of the go-or-go homers.
I think it's one of those practice sessions as we get ready for qualifying. We have no idea who can rip this lap off and sit on the pole a little bit later on.
That's what makes it fun.
It will be a surprise, I promise you.
2 drivers to go home from knockout qualifying late in the session that you will see on Speed later today. The pros are coming into the booth, going to take over our spot for Nationwide Series practice. But until that happens, we're going to send you back to the Speed stage and John Roberts. We'll see you later.